Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ottawa City Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 29th. Let's start with the roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
Present.
Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Clayton.
Present.
And Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
We're all here and accounted for, so I welcome everybody watching on social media or in the gallery here itself. So let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed with invocation by my pastor, Dakota Smith.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for having me. Bow your head, bow your heart with me as I lead us in prayer. Father, thank you for the love that you have for each person in this room. Thank you, God, for our city officials and their leadership of this community. God, ultimately, I thank you that you're not just here to tell us that you love us with words, but you proved your love to us by sending Jesus, and I thank you for him. I thank you that everyone in this room is valuable to you. And so with that, because you love us, we also pray for your wisdom. Would we have a real tangible sense that you gave us wisdom today, that we were able to say we did our best and we used the principles of lifelong wisdom to lead this community. Thank you for this opportunity here today. Thank you for the things on the agenda, and help us to move forward with a good conscience. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dakota. And apologize for the mix-up last time. I think we didn't get the time quite right to you, Dakota, but thanks for coming today. And
Absolutely.
we'll get it next time again. We'll do it again, sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Let's start with public comments.
We received 2 letters of support for item 11C, establishing a Sister Cities program.
Okay. We had a letter from Betty Berzer as well as Dr. Ryan Cobb's School District, so letters of support. So I want to include those in the minutes. There are no appointments or proclamations, so we'll go to the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the May 22nd City Commission meeting, as well as the advisory board minutes for the, I guess we'll look at these here later, Ottawa Memorial Auditorium, Ottawa Municipal Airport, and the Planning Commission. Do we have approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We'll go on to declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Good. I almost have that memorized, but not quite. We're working on it, so we're getting closer. No unfinished business this meeting, so we'll go right on to the new business, which would be the Kansas Independent College Finance Authority Revenue Application Notes. Craig Kisbert, Ottawa University. I believe he'll be on present to answer any questions from the commission. I believe, Craig, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Very good, thank you. And Brian taking care of this, I guess?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, this is an annual appropriation that most KCAC schools do throughout the state that provides the kind of bridge financing, if you will, during the summer season, and essentially authorizes the issuance of revenue anticipation notes. This has historically been $6 million, and this would be to authorize the mayor to execute the certificate of approval for the issuance of these revenue anticipation notes. Again, this is an annual occurrence. This last occurred at the May 22nd, 2023 meeting, and it is also occurring in communities across the state, such as Atchison, Baldwin City, Heston, Hillsborough, Leavenworth, Lindsborg, McPherson, North Newton, Olathe, Salina, Sterling, Wichita, and Winfield. Keefe has also previously sold and delivered bonds and notes for the benefit of these private colleges and universities as well. The certificate of approval authorizes the mayor to execute, confirming that a public hearing was conducted on Thursday, May 23rd, 2024, in compliance with Section 147F of the IRS Code, and that this was posted on Keefa's website 7 days prior to that hearing. There's no direct obligation for the city. This is not a full faith and credit that you often hear of when we have debt issuances, which means that the city's backstopping any debt issuance with the taxing authority. And if the local unit of government, whether it's a city or a county or a school district or township, whatever that might be, then the state then compels that property tax levy to be applied to finance those notes. And this is not occurring here. So this does not incur the full faith and credit financing obligation. And this legal considerations are related to Article 12, Section 5 of the Constitution and KSA 12-2901 et sec of our statutes. It's the recommendation that if there are no questions for staff or for bond counsel online, to approve the certificate and authorize the mayor to execute it.
Have any questions of Brian? This is something we do every year. There's, again, just to mention, there's no obligation on behalf of the city, no liability on our part. It's just the law requires the mayor to sign that particular form, I guess, which one that is. We'll do that later if we approve this. But I think it's something we do every year, so it's no surprise to me. And I'm glad to see Ottawa University continuing thriving and growing strong. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve item A in the agenda, the Kansas Independent College Finance Authority anticipation notes.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any other discussion on this? Let's have roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore.
And I vote yes, too. That motion carries. Thank you all for doing that, Brian, and thank you, Craig, for joining in today. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Move on to, I guess we got the review the monthly reports for April 2024. And I should go back and say the minutes of those minutes, they're not going to be here to report the Memorial Auditorium Airport on the Planning Commission. They were in part of our packet. I mistook those for the monthly reports that we're going to hear from. So let me go start with Franklin County Development Council. Mr. Paul Bean, you have anything you want to tell us?
I'm open for any questions. Obviously, I'll be back up here with the sister city in a minute.
Sure. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Bean? We saw your report, and it's always good to hear of people still showing interest. We seem to be always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But,
Yeah.
Anyway, someday we'll get married somewhere.
Someday.
Someday. And it's always looking forward to that day to happen. So, anybody have any questions on Franklin County report?
Along that, you'd said that some of these you're getting are just that, kind of just marketing material, so kind of a surface level
Yeah.
ask, not a real in-depth.
Right. Yeah, they're not too far along. They're still even thinking about what to put on the hook. They're not really in the fishing yet.
Yeah. Well, I like that you mentioned, because I think in real estate, residential real estate, all the way through, especially stuff like this, it's an election year. And we're really at the turning point in May where stuff starts getting a little different in markets a lot in
Yeah.
election years, because there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. So it's just something to be mindful of that,
Yep.
we feel that way, and I think a lot of other people do as well. Not sure what's going to happen, and so hopefully we keep getting them coming in, though.
Yeah. I like I said in the note, I expect it to be a little bit slow, but I'm encouraged that we're still getting some activity. So, yeah, I'm not optimistic we'll get a flurry between now and November, but
Yeah.
Paul, the DeSoto Power battery plant, are you still seeing inquiries from it? Or are they kind of already all filled their places
still
that
seeing
they're
a
going to
few
go?
from there that are
Still-
obviously Japanese-related companies. Yep, yep.
So there's still some,
I'd say, anything that's related to electric production, those are the ones we're seeing an increased need for more power, more electrical capacity than we currently have. And we're not unique to that. It's kind of a national issue right now that industry's moving to higher demand. So it's something we need to address, but I want people to know it's not unique to Ottawa. It's a national challenge.
well, the DeSoto plant had to build their own substation. So
Exactly. Yeah.
we're certainly, we have enough power for quite a bit of people to show up, but not
Yeah.
something like that. But
Yeah.
I was just more interested to see if you were still
Yeah,
seeing
we're still
some
seeing a little
inquiries.
bit.
Good.
Their timelines are awful short, though. So some
Right.
of those also are, they want an existing building.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions of Paul? I guess I'll say, too, that some of these ones that'll eventually land on our soil, starting with the brochure maybe, so. who
You never
knows, I
know.
guess. You never know.
Never
right?
know.
Good to do. All right. Thanks, Paul. very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it. We'll see you here pretty soon.
Yep.
Let me go- Who's next on the list there?
She'll tell you.
Here she is. Okay, Terry. Executive Director of our Ottawa Library.
Hello, nice to see you all this afternoon. I wanted to give you a little quick update on the Franklin County Children's Lit Fest. We did hold it on May 7th and May 8th. May 7th was at OMA, and it featured the What If Puppets with Ringo's Sing-Along Adventure, and we had 744 individuals in attendance through 3 sessions there. The actual Lit Fest for 3rd through 5th graders was held on May 8th at Ottawa University. We had, let's see if I can find the number on that one. I can't find the number, goodness. I did. 889 attendees at that event. So over 1,600 individuals attended our Lit Fest events this year and had a wonderful time. We had 8 authors at the Lit Fest on May 8th at OU, and it was a really beautiful day for the event, and the authors always thank us for the event and always have a good time, and most of them are anxious to come back another year. We kind of mix it up each year so we don't have the same authors each year, but it was a great event again this year. And I want to thank our 40 sponsors who donated to make that event happen this year. And we are getting ready to kick off summer reading. This Friday, we will kick it off in the parking lot from 3 to 5. I encourage individuals who want to participate in summer reading to register at ottawalibrary.beanstack.org. Come by the library and pick up these wonderful calendars that tell you about all the events we have in June and July, and just come enjoy yourselves. We have had several families and individuals stopping by the library this week and the end of last week, checking out books and movies and getting started, and so it's fun to see everybody start filling up the library again.
That's great. And on those authors that were there, you said there are 8. Is that typical for any of these fests, that many authors?
Yeah, when they initially started it, I believe they started with like 12 presenters, but they weren't using Ottawa University and they didn't have the bigger classroom spaces. So with some of the bigger spaces that we're able to use there, we've been able to reduce it to 8 and allow bigger groups to go into at least 4 areas of Ottawa University. So that has helped us.
Great. Good deal. Good event. Anybody have any questions of Terry? I think we're
Thank
good.
you.
All right, thanks. We got Sarah from Ottawa Main Street.
Good afternoon, you guys. I have a few updates here. The first one I'm going to give is our Piccadilly. That would have been right before I left. We made $18,000 with our Piccadilly for that being our first one. We're pretty excited about that and looking to having that as our annual event each year. We have things that we know we can grow on it and do on it. So be looking for next year's Piccadilly. The next thing I have is the Plant Day cleanup downtown. We had that May 11th. Sorry. It was quite the success. We had 30 volunteers downtown with 82 hours of volunteering. We had different local businesses that donated mulch and plants or gave discounts on plants. We've also have our third Thursdays of picking up again. We have a makers market. Last month we had 262 people through and at least $2,000 spent in just the makers market area. We also have our Main Street Madness, which is our community kickoff to summer. We're using that to try and pull in some more community volunteers looking to build our committees that way. And then we have Mayor Dezine and Mayhem Block Party. That is in conjunction with a disc golf group that is coming in. It's a national qualifying group. Anywhere from 140 to 200 participating people from out of state. It's a 2-day event, so they wanted something for them to do overnight. And then we've also been working a lot with grants and trying to get some upper level living. A lot of these grants are specific to the Main Street designated communities and trying to help out the business owners as well as some businesses as well. So that's all I have at this moment.
Anybody have more questions of Sarah? Well, congratulations on the Piccadilly. That was quite an event, and I was just shocked how many people showed up for that, and then they brought their money too, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
We sold the bank out of quarters. The bank brought 500 and they went through $1,500 in quarters and had no more quarters to go get for us. So we were going and stealing them back off the tables and selling them back out to people.
That's great.
So
That's a good problem to have, I
Yeah.
guess. And I will say about the block party too, the disc golf on June 22nd. If you don't play, or even if you do play, I just played a little bit, just to go out and watch some of these people, how accurate and how far they can throw a disc is incredible. Just entertaining, just to follow people around and just in awe. But yeah, if anybody get a chance to get out June 22nd, make sure to watch for that advertised in the future, and be sure to show up if you want to and watch some fantastic players. So thanks for having that. It's a good idea.
thank you.
Any good questions? All right, Sarah, thanks.
Thanks.
And we got Director Cowie maybe online, the Prairie Paws Animal Shelter.
Prairie Paws is not available today.
She's not here. Okay, she won't be here. All right, very good. We'll just go right on then. And we're looking at item C. You want to go ahead and read that for me, Melissa?
Yeah. Establishing a Sister Cities program.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm trying to get back to the routine of you reading the dark and I read the light. Okay, very good. All right, here we got Paul back again, talking about Sister City International Program to gain level interest in the program. So, Paul, take it away.
Hello, long time no see.
Yeah.
I started looking at the Sister City program initially as a way to promote Proximity Park, and I've kind of held a few meetings just to see if there's some interest. Invited the mayor, city manager, county commission chair, county administrator, Dr. Cobbs, and Dr. Sutsui from the university, and have had just kind of informal conversations with some of my board members, but seems to be some pretty significant interest in this program locally. So went ahead and put $400 down and formally joined the Sister City International Program so we could get more information. And part of what I sent out to you is off of their website to kind of start to learn what's involved and what's it take and those types of things. And so from the process standpoint, if this is something the city's interested in, and I'm happy from an FCDC perspective to kind of be on point for this because it would involve a lot of different segments of the community. And I think you need an organization that's on point. So if we do decide to do this, we're using it and doing it, and somebody's driving that. So in that essence, I would even say in future MOUs with FCDC, if we want to do this, I would suggest we put some verbiage in there about the Sister City program. But would work to establish a kind of an advisory group or directive group and determine, okay, if we did this, what are some of the goals? And we would come back and keep communicating with you all on as this progresses, obviously. What do we want to get out of this? What are the goals? And I'll get into some of that here in a minute. Then we start to work with Sister City International and identify some potential partners. And we've had some internal discussion, especially with the Panasonic plant, that it might be opportunistic for us to think about location in Japan. You can have more than one. I'd say we start with one. But Japan might be of interest because of the connectivity to Panasonic and some of the other Japanese firms that are in the region. Might give us a kind of a beachhead in that country, but open to anywhere at this point. We haven't decided anything. Certainly that would be your decision. And then once we kind of identify one, start to think about marketing materials, and I think we'd want to market the idea eventually to our local population, as well as what do we want to say about our community to other communities that we want to invite to be a sister city. So how would we promote ourselves? And then enter into kind of a preliminary understanding with the city that we select. And a group would go over and visit them, and they would have a group come over and visit us. And then if it's a marriage, then the mayors both sign agreements, and we have a formal MOU or a formal document of understanding and constitute the sister city relationship. and move forward based off of that. The benefits of this, obviously, there's an economic opportunity for us. I think, one, it's like I said, it's a way for us to have another avenue to promote Proximity Park by being in a foreign company or a foreign country and on the ground. I think also there might be opportunities for us, depending on what some of our local industry is thinking about, some overseas business. Maybe there's some introductions we can help make for them and create more business for existing industry in one of these global markets, depending on where we go. And again, we could end up with more than one sister city. There's huge benefits from an education standpoint. That's why you're seeing support from Dr. Tsutsui and Dr. Cobbs. From an student exchange program at just about high school level and college level, but also, exchange of faculty and those types of things, cultural exchanges, some really neat educational opportunities. We could maybe even think through educational opportunities for business management, them over here. And, I'm sure that we could probably teach them some about ag for sure, because that's an area of expertise for our region, and there might be some industry or something that some of our business leaders could go over and learn from them. So a lot of cross-learning opportunities. And then, of course, the cultural exchange. I think there's tremendous opportunity for cultural benefits for both communities. We're pretty isolated here in the Midwest, and I think the cultural exposure would be good for us. And provide some more learning opportunities, not just for their students, but for all of us as we interact with a different culture. Of course, the big question is always, what are the expenses to do something like this? The membership's $400 a year for Sister City International, based on our community size. So that's the known number. The rest of it really depends upon what we do with it, what our goals are. How often would we travel? How often do we host? I think the thing to remember on that is if the schools are going to do it, then that's something they would pay their way. If we have a business, obviously I feel like they need to pay their way. But there's always going to be some kind of expense. We'd have to think about that as a development expense or somewhere in that realm when we're looking at budgets. Obviously, FCDC would be a financial participant in that. We'd have expenses for the marketing, as I mentioned, expenses for travel, expenses for hosting, and then the unknowns that we don't know yet that we'll learn about. I think it's like anything. Your expenses are going to be based upon what you want to get out of it. And if it's to put a sign up on the street and that's it, then that's your expense, but you're not going to get anything out of it. And I'm really personally not interested in that. I want to see if we do this to really engage and do it. And what that looks like, yet to be determined, but I think there's an opportunity. But I don't want to do it for show and tell. I want to do it for results, quite frankly. From a support standpoint, we have a national contact at Sister City, and we have a regional contact with Sister City International. We have support and contact from the Kansas Department of Commerce, who works with Sister Cities. And then I've reached out so far to Sharice David's office, and they've even already got a contact for us in Japan if we want to go that way. So they jumped on it right away, and I'm sure our other representatives could help us too. And that might be something else where maybe, if we have a contingency go over there, maybe our representative might want to go over and help us promote our industry and help us recruit industry. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And like I said, I'm happy to be on point, but I'm not going to do that unless you guys want to enter the program. And at any time, there's no cost yet. So I guess at any time you can say, Paul, we don't want to do it anymore, but I don't want to go too far down the road and then find out you're not interested, just to be honest. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of investment on my part, and I'm excited to do it, so please hear that. I think it's a great opportunity. I just don't want to do it if you're not 100% enthusiastic about it, but I'm certainly happy to answer questions.
Sure. I guess it makes sense, Paul, how much you want to be involved in it. There's your expense. We don't know what the total dollars would be, but it depends on how involved we want to be in this. And so that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know, anybody have any questions on this topic? You just kind of touched the surface here. It's kind of early on, and you see in your packet the information about it. But I open up for questions.
Do you know roughly what, if today was like charge ahead day, what rough timeline is? Obviously I'm sure it is based on some negotiations and delegations and different things like that. what an average length of time before you kind of decide would be?
Yeah, we would, if we hit the ground running today, we'd be up and running by the end of the year, is what Sister City International told me.
Okay.
So, once we decide, it depends how quickly Paul Bean moves. But yeah, we could make it official pretty quickly. But that, some of that depends who do we want to travel and how the schedules work and vice versa. But they said if we did it now, we'd be up and running by the end of the year.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's, like you'd mentioned, a lot of those benefits about the cultural stuff as well. I think also thinking of ourselves a little bit too, World Cup's coming, and Japan made World Cup in 2022. So, that's another opportunity of a lot of people coming to Kansas City in 2 years.
Yeah, I'd really, even if our sister city isn't in one of the countries coming, I've already told Commerce, as soon as we know who's coming, because there's state resources available, I want us as a community, and I've talked to several in the community, I want to see if we can get that team down here to work with our kids and the college kids, and maybe we do some cultural exchanges, and maybe we have restaurants do meals relative to that culture, whatever it is. But I'd love to take advantage of that, even if it'd be great if it's in our sister city country.
Yeah.
That'd be a home run. But even if it's not, I think it's an opportunity that we want to take advantage of to bring not just the team, but all of their fans down here and spend their money, and we learn from them and they learn from us. And there's, classroom experience. There's, like I said, talk to all the different soccer areas, and they're like, oh, that'd be cool. My kids could be the World Cup team. Yeah, that'd be cool. So, yeah, I definitely want to take advantage of that if we can. That's in 2026. I don't know when we know who's coming, but I'm waiting to find out.
Yeah. Awesome. Good point. Anybody have any questions? All right, well, Paul will take this under consideration, and we'll
Okay.
see what we can do.
All right.
Appreciate your presentation. Good job.
Thank you.
Move on to item D.
Land use agreement for 2706 Kingman Road.
This agreement is between the city and the tenant, J.C. Freedom Enterprises LLC. And I guess either one of you, Attorney Finch or Brian, do you want to lead on this one?
Honorable Mayor and Commission, I'll comment, and City Attorney Finch will chime in. We acquired this property in 2023. It's technically in the unincorporated area of Franklin County, but it is surrounded on three sides by the city. The city ordinance reclassified this property as City Commercial 3 in 2010, and the use of the property in terms of our land use agreement do confirm and conform to our current zoning regulations. This is a map of the subject parcel, which is located right here, 2706 Kingman Road, which is on the southeast corner of US Highway 59 and Kingman Road, with, you can see the facilities kind of around it. And then, of course, this would be the area right over here for Proximity Park. The land use agreement grants J.C. Freedom Enterprises the non-exclusive right to use the driveways for ingress, egress, for vehicles, as well as the exclusive rights to be the sole user of that space from June 15th to July 10th of this year. And it's for their storage and retail sale for the consumer Class C fireworks, which has occurred at this location historically in the past, and provisions for refunds if necessary. If this isn't granted, would be not granted, so we're not liable if something occurs and the county is has to do a burn ban and no fireworks. It doesn't impact the city's prohibition on fireworks. Freedom Enterprises will pay us $1,500 annually with the payment due June 15th. They'll maintain it in a clean and safe condition, as well as repairing any damage caused in the exercise of their business during this period. It indemnifies the city and holds us harmless for the renter's actions. The renter must comply with all state and local and county laws. The agreement does contain restrictions preventing another entity from using the site for similar purposes. So would it be isolated and solely upon J.C. Freedom Enterprises? It also ensures that we are all acting in good faith and can only be amended in writing by both parties. Again, this is a $1,500 annual payment. This is a one-year agreement, and City Attorney Finch has led us through this process. And so it would be our recommendation to consider authorization of this agreement, and I'll defer to City Attorney Finch for additional comment.
Just by way of background, Commissioners, J.C. Freedom has used that site for the sale of fireworks for years. As the city manager said, it is not in the city limits at present, and we have not talked about annexation as of yet. This was the parcel that came out in acquisition last year. It's kind of too small to develop on its own. It's going to take some of the land around it. But there are been a lot of utility and water easements and highway and road easements that have kind of eaten into this corner as Proximity Park has been developed. And so the city acquired it. The folks who had run the stand there asked if they could continue to do that this year. And so the opportunity is there for us to allow them to continue. Obviously, they're going to be responsible for sales tax collection and remittance to the state. And to the county, but this would give the city some rent anyway off of the use of that parcel for that. And the other tenant there, Andy Siding, does know about this, is fine with this, and has no issue with this going forward.
As far as the traffic flow, they come in, access, I guess they go around the west side of Andy's building he's leasing then, is that, they don't use his parking lot, I assume, do they, or is that?
Yeah, you see the gravel drive there on the overhead shot that the city manager's pointing to. They
Okay,
come in
yeah.
back there
Oh, I see.
and then come around, and they would share that parking lot and that parking area, and according to both of them, both Mr. Lang with J.C. Freedom and Brandon Rosine, who operates Andy's, they've figured it out through the years and have pretty good ability to work together out there.
Good, good. Okay. Anybody have more questions of either our attorney or city manager?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11D on our agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Good. Is there any discussion on this? Now let's take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen? Yes. Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
And I'll vote yes too. That motion carries. So thank you. And Brian, you can execute the documents. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Next up, what do we have? Melissa?
Item E, review of 2025 operating budget for water fund.
And we've got Director Landis and Director Rainey.
To put it down again. All right, thank you. We have, this week is our fourth discussion on the 2025 budget, and this week we're focusing on our water utility. And this will be the final review of utilities for our initial discussion, and we will bring back to you each of them again as in our final review when we put the whole budget together for you. But I want to talk a little bit about what we've put together here. The water fund, or the water utility, in this, my book is getting too big and everything's falling off of here. Our whole goal with this utility is to make sure that we're providing consistent and adequate water pressure, water availability for all of our customers, that we're meeting our health and safety standards, that we test and treat the water to remove all the contaminants and pathogens, and that we are effectively paying attention to our resource management, conservation overall. We produce clean drinking water for 5,200 city customers, 3 rural water districts, and the city of Princeton. this is a lot of information on the screen. Again, each time that we put up the rate structure for our utilities, it's a lot to look at. But really, it's just there to kind of show you that we do have different levels of rates within our rate structure. And we took a look at this last year and had an opportunity to revise the rates to help the utility meet our goals of being able to maintain our infrastructure and our plant, the expectations of our plant and our utility overall. And so we did approve a resolution in 2023 that increased the rates. So starting in 2023, there was an annual $2 base charge increase, plus in 2023 it was a rate increase of 10%, 24 is 8%, 25 is 6%, 26 is 4%, and 27 is 4%. And I'll show you once I get a couple slides in as to how that impacts that bottom line. Keeping in mind and remembering that 5,200 customers doesn't produce an enormous impact in revenue very quickly, but it does help over time. Starting with our production division, what's not on the screen, I want to talk a little bit about what they do. So we began production in 1980. They are a Class 4 facility. They produce 570 million gallons per year, and our water source is the Mardazine River. We utilize 4 multimedia filters for final cleaning and use free chlorine and ammonia for disinfection. Activated carbon is used for taste and odor control. And it has a 1.2 million gallon underground clear well for storage before distribution. The improvements that have been made over the last couple of years include the $500,000, or not $500,000, 500,000 gallon elevated storage tank. Yeah, right. Near I-35 and Montana Road, and that was funded by Base Grant, the Building a Stronger Economy grant. And that project completion is planned for 2025, as there's still some additional improvements that are going to be made on the plant side to make that the most effective use of that plant or that tower. And then in addition to, we updated 2 pump stations and installed switchgear for power supply during outages with the use of the American Rescue Plan Act. ARPA funds is what most people refer to them as in 2023. And then also we engaged with PEC, which is our engineering consultant, to do a water treatment plant evaluation in 2023. And that report has come back to us for an initial review. And so we look forward to seeing what the results of that might be and how that would impact our future planning for what is needed for production overall. On the screen are a couple of our budget highlights for this division, and to call a few to your attention, the treatment plan evaluation we just talked about, it was $50,000. That was in our 2024 budget. In addition, we saw an increase of $10,000 in our chemical expenses, which I think you've heard me talk about in some of the other conversations, and you'll hear it again when we talk about other divisions, that those chemical expenses have gone up incredibly high over the last couple of years even, and they're starting to level out, but we did not budget quite enough for that for this year. And in 2025, we are planning to dredge the North Sludge Pond, and that is estimated at $180,000. And then again in 2026, we will dredge the South Sludge Pond. And those sludge ponds need to be cleared every 10 to 15 years, and it's time. And we received those estimates just in a couple of months ago, actually. So those are good, pretty good cost estimates there. In 2026, we're also looking ahead to purchasing a new mower, and then also looking to add a full-time apprentice to our staff in a 2-year program in conjunction with KRWA established programs, which we've talked about, the apprenticeship programs that is through that program on our wastewater side as well. Do you have questions about the production division?
Any questions? Guess not yet.
Nope, okay.
Sorry, one question
sure.
I did have. On there, I saw that where it says it affords us the elimination of both the current north and south water towers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
As part of that project, is that part of the plan with the new water tower? Because it was kind of in the same, same paragraph that they've reached their useful life. Is that part
Do
of
you
the
wanna-
plan with the new?
We still need
Thank you, Honorable Mayor,
Sure.
Commissioners. The plan at this time is to get the new water tower up and running, make sure everything runs good, and that would be a separate budget item down the road. It is not in the plans to have them demoed by 2025 or probably even a year after that. So it's going to be a budget item down the road. We have no cost estimate as to that being done. We have a lot of other things to look at with reference to the telecom that's currently on the south tower and our 911 situation that's on our south tower currently, so, but it is not currently part of the
Okay.
plan.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
I saw that too. I kind of wondered about, I guess our capacity, it would be sufficient with the 2 remaining towers then? We got 4 total, is that right?
Yes. Our current 750,000 gallon composite tower out by I-35 and Wilson Street is primarily for, which was planned for a development
Right.
in the K-68 corridor. That did not happen. So primarily right now, it is used for Rural Water 1 east of town and Walmart Distribution Center. We will have access to all of our elevated storage with the new tower once we get the pumps upgraded at the water treatment plant.
Okay.
So we'll have more available on-demand storage in our towers than we do currently.
And I didn't realize the current 2 towers you were talking about for possible demolition someday, built in 54, did I read that? So
Yes.
they're older than me. That's just,
Yes.
that's old. So I just want to check on that. I mean, is it something that you just normally don't leave them up for backup purposes? You would just, is that not a possibility or that?
We are currently looking to switch to different pressure zones. So right now, the current northeast tower is at a different pressure zone as our north tower and our south tower.
Okay.
What that means is that you can't have 2 different pressure zones clashing. So it is cut off from the rest of the system, other than the boost station that puts water into the tower.
Okay.
With the addition of the new water tower, they're at the same overflow elevation as the northeast tower. So therefore, we are going to get a bump in system pressure throughout the entire town. So that can range anywhere from 5 PSI clear on up to 20 PSI in some places. So that's going to be a huge advantage. Fire flows are also going to improve with the upgrade at the water treatment plant.
Okay. Good, fantastic. Good. Any other questions on that?
Scott, when did you anticipate that happening?
We're hoping to have it done by 2025.
Okay.
Yep. We just received bids on that project, and we're getting ready to start that process of finalizing that contract.
Good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We're thankful for the experts in the room. I am thankful for the experts in the room.
I thought you knew everything. Well, okay, all right.
All right, so if we're going to move on to distribution, and we can always circle back if you think of more questions. So for our distribution division, they maintain 82 miles of water line, and their focus is solely on the water line construction and maintenance and replacement of those water lines to make sure that we can provide all of that water to our customers. Annually, they average 25 new services, 10 new fire hydrants, 26 new water valves, and over 2,000 feet of new or replaced water lines. And over the last 20 years, they've replaced 25 miles of those water lines. By doing that, their water main breaks on a 5-year average have reduced from a previous 5-year average of 85 per year, and they're down to 25 per year.
Is
Some
that-
of the.
Is that
Sure, go
just happenstance, or is that some plan that we're doing a better job doing something? I don't know the answer to that.
Scott.
Just quick on this fewer line breaks. What's the explanation? It's good news, obviously, but why are we having fewer line breaks versus, okay.
You should just sit up
Mayor, Commissioners, we take pride in finding bad spots in town, and that becomes our priority. And if we have an area that has low flow for fire protection and stuff like that, so we get right on it if we find an area like that, and that helps eliminate a lot of them breaks.
Okay, fantastic. Be always an ounce of prevention, is always good, so I agree. Good job, thanks.
Along with that, I didn't want to jump ahead when you were up here last, Scott. Do we foresee, obviously we can't, but as you would think with your expertise, do we see a potential issue with increasing the pressure between 5 and 20 PSI on lines in terms of the number of?
Good question.
Yes, that will make a difference, and that's part of the Elm Street project that we started this year and completed part of, and then for next year, that it would make a difference on that and create quite a few more breaks.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because a couple of the key projects and upgrades that we've done recently or over the last several years is that we did, it was recommended that we had redundant raw water lines, and that was completed in 2015. The 16-inch line replacement to the North Water Tower, most recent completion on that was in 2016. 8-inch line replacement, the final section along 9th Street from Mulberry to Lincoln Street was completed in 2023. And the 12-inch water main replacement this year is the South Elm Street from 17th to 19th Street. And then in addition to, in our CIP, you saw some water main replacement, that 5-year schedule that they're looking at. And those were all the key priority pieces that needed to have some either be replaced or updated so that we can avoid those future breaks. In the 2025 or 20, yes, we already talked about 2024 revised, but in the 2025 proposed budget, there's a salt spreader in there as well as the 19th Street from Elm Street to Twyman project. And then in 2026, there's $150,000 for pipe inventory to help replace the smaller diameter lines due to age and failure. In 25 and 26, part of the master plan recommendations is that we upgrade the existing 6-inch water main to a 12-inch along 9th Street from Cedar to Mulberry in conjunction with Ottawa University expansion. And so what we'll do is evaluate that over the next couple of years. That was all part of the master plan. And so as it was said, as they expand or as they were potentially add facilities that might use more water, that should be a consideration. And so that's on our radar, something we'll be watching and adding back to the CIP if that becomes a priority. All right, so the financial tables that are in front of you, I want to bring a couple of key points to your attention. So our fund balance remains at less than 20%. It's been that way for the last 2 years. Actually, probably even a little longer than that. And that was the reason that we brought to you the 5-year plan and with the new rates so that we could start to increase or build that fund balance back to an acceptable level. When I say acceptable, the whole point in making sure that you have a fund balance or a reserve, especially in a utility, is for these reasons. If you have excessive water main breaks for whatever reason, if you've got a project that really needs to move up in priority, for example, we probably could have put off the 17th to 19th Street water main replacement. However, they were having a large number of repairs that they were having to make along the way, and it made sense to go ahead and finish the project as opposed to it might have been finished with individual repairs along the way, but it surely wouldn't have been as efficient had we as just doing the whole or finishing the whole project at one time. So prioritization of how we can spend those dollars is really important for all of the projects that they have lined out. And then that new rate structure really starts to take effect, or really starts to make an impact on our bottom line over time. So as we said, there's 5,200 customers approximately in the city between residential and commercial, and then the 3 rural water districts in the city of Princeton. And so currently our expenses outweigh our revenues by about $110,000. So you cannot make any headway when your expenditures are higher than your revenues. However, you have to continue a utility that's as important as a water utility. So the process that we've gone through to make sure that we're only spending towards those priority projects at this time is really important. And will probably also result in us having to come back and reanalyze yet later this year, probably at the top of next year, just to make sure that we are exactly where we need to be, and that's on an upward trend for our fund balance in this fund overall, to make sure that we can ensure that there's a reserve there and the ability to make improvements or repairs as needed.
That's what I was noticing. I don't mean to get to it on your graph showing the fund balance history and projection. Looks like in 2027 it starts to get back in the right, there we go, right direction.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say that. So you can see then that it starts to come back up, and that's even with planned capital improvement projects. Now, it's not all of them. There's definitely more expenses that are out there and needed for this utility overall, but you do start to at least see it starting to trend upward then.
That's what I think when our rate increase, we talked about this last year, whenever that was, 28, it was last year. We kind of front-end loaded it a little bit with a higher rate increase early and then trailed it off gently. And you can see the benefit of that eventually. By 2029, we'll be in a lot better shape, back to where we were, I think, before this, started with about $1 million in reserves, so.
Yes, and so if we went with our standard 20% targeted fund balance, we should be in 2025 sitting somewhere around 800,000. And on the last graph, we were our table, we're about 460,000. So we are still trailing behind, but it's definitely going to start making some progress. It just takes a little bit of time.
And all these rate increases we enacted, that also affects Princeton and our rural water districts too. They also were increased charges as well, I assume, on that to cover
Yes.
their, okay, good.
Yes. What I wanted to, actually, I'm going to back up one slide. So when we go through this process, and because we have the projects and things that we need to make sure that we're paying attention to, if you look at the 24 adopted budget and the 24 revised budget, because there wasn't much of a fund balance to work with when we adopted the budget, we knew we were going to need to come back with a budget amendment for the changes to salaries for the compensation study that was implemented at the top of the year, and then also the expense for the water main replacement project from 17th to 19th. So we will be bringing to you a budget amendment process. So that entails a public hearing just to amend the budget. It doesn't do anything other than give you the expenditure authority to spend for these projects and for your future expenses through the end of the year. That's a state requirement that we have to go through a formal process to adopt that. Do you have questions of any of our staff that's here, or anything I can answer for you?
Anybody have questions? Sarah, you got any questions? Are you still on?
I'm here. I'm good. Thank
You
you.
good? Okay.
And Mayor, if you,
Yeah, sure.
I might mention one more thing. So as we continue to work through all of these other funds, this is just a standard reminder. I think I mentioned it early on in our process, but as we present these, this is where we are as of today in this fund. But as we explore the other, like special revenue funds, where these utility funds make contributions to our community service fund, to our risk management fund, all of those, might have an impact on what we do within these, so we may have to adjust them slightly, but we will make sure that we're bringing all of those comments back to you at the end so that you can see where we've adjusted them to accommodate some of those other expenditures.
Very good.
Okay? All right?
Any other questions anybody have? A lot of numbers to go through. Don't you love it? Okay. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Thanks. Guess we'll go on to, we got comments by our city manager. Brian?
Honorable Mayor and Commission, just some highlights of activities on this short Memorial Day work week. Sorry, went the wrong way. I just want to remind everyone that limb pickup is ongoing, and we will be coming by and picking up additional limbs and debris for the following week or so. So if everyone could please place the items lengthways with the curb so that our folks can easily collect and place them in the appropriate sized container. The splash pad, as you know, opened with much fanfare for the Memorial Day holiday. It's been very well received, and you can see from these aerial views kind of the current area. You may be aware that we had a situation regarding the activator that occurred on Sunday, and DJ reports that he's been unable to recreate that problem that was experienced since that time. And so we've been in a just monitoring to recreate if needed. We are currently back to the scheduled original operating hours of 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The water pressure, DJ said, needed to be slightly reduced so that 2 of our water guns would not be overpowering, and that the items coming up would not be excessively high. And then want to point out that we're going to conduct a change order to complete the sod around the entire splash pad footprint, and then look to add some picnic tables and trash receptacles in the shaded area. And want to thank our park superintendent, DJ Welch, who responded on Sunday to quickly address the activator issue and placed it in bypass mode so that it would just operate manually, and then we came back to turn it off after dark. So I wanted to thank DJ, and I'm sure our youth of Ottawa thank him as well. I wanted to bring attention to all of our neighbors and utility customers that we were notified by several of our residents and customers that they've received some electronic calls saying that the City of Ottawa is offering some utility rebates. This is a scam. It is not coming from our utility. And so what we've asked citizens to do is not to press any numbers or to enter any sort of account information, just to hang up immediately. And if they have any questions or concerns, to contact City Hall at 785-229-3600. And we want to thank those neighbors who did take the time to inquire and to report this activity to City Hall, as they helped us, made us aware of the situation and helped us get the word out as quickly as possible that there was a situation, so that we can minimize the impact that this has on our neighbors.
Do we know any way if anybody was scammed officially, or we don't know until somebody would?
Yeah, at this time, I don't believe we've received any sort of information that anyone was adversely affected by it. I want to thank everyone who turned out to this morning's torch run for our local Special Olympic athletes. We invite everyone to check out the Ottawa Police Department and City of Ottawa's Facebook pages for photos on the event and activities. And so we also want to thank not only our police department staff, but the fire department, Franklin County Sheriff, and employees of Calmar who also participated in the parade, and the COF employees and community and family members who escorted our athletes through Main Street. I want to highlight which Sherry touched on. We have our June adventure begins at the library. So we have the reading activities and the events for our youth here online, and we'll keep this up to date for June and then into July as well when we approach that date, which will be here sooner than we know. And then just to go over our budget review process, where at the June 5th meeting we'll have our community partner application reviews. So that concludes my comments. If there are no questions for myself or another member of our team.
I was thinking, did the band have their concert Tuesday night? And did that
They
work?
do, and I had intended to include that slide, and on the printer, actually, I have the latest flyer for you, and we'll include that slide up there. And just so that you know, the rain dates, if there is inclement weather, will occur. The concert will be held in the OMA.
Good, all right. But the splash pad didn't conflict with the band? They were concerned about noise, but I didn't hear
Not
anybody-
that we're aware of, and we are watching. So that way, if either the pressure or just outright noise that operation needs to be ceased, then we'll address it when there's a problem.
Okay, very good. All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Brian. Anybody have any questions of Brian? We're good? All right, let's go on to commissioner comments. Start with Commissioner Crowley.
I have none.
Commissioner Clayton?
I just want to bring up on the limb pickup, it was great to see kind of the community come together again, as we always kind of do whenever we have storms, and see neighbors helping neighbors with chainsaws, cut branches and stuff up. I did want to bring up during the land use agreement, we're late for this year. I had kind of forgotten about it till now, about potentially looking at allowing fireworks sales within the city limits. We had touched on it last year, just in terms of a sales tax option. Most of them are 10 feet outside the city limits of town anyway. And so just something to kind of put on the radar that obviously I think we're too close for this year for anyone to plan, but maybe for next year for summer to plan, looking at the ordinances surrounding that and allowing potentially, if people want to set up within the city limits to sell, we can still keep other ordinances in place, I would assume. And then just the same thing on the splash pad. Every time I drive by, it seems to be full of kids, and there's a lot of activity going on, and I think that's great.
Great. Okay, thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Kaler?
I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Pro Tem Allen?
I have no comment.
Nothing there? Okay, thanks. And I did go by the splash pad when I first started. The water felt pretty cold to me, but the kids didn't seem to care, so I'm glad it was well attended, and the kids seemed to like that. It really worked out well. So I'm glad we've got that going. A lot of positive comments in town, and I think it's great. It's a long time coming. We finally got it done, but I think it's well worth the effort. So thank you for all involved in making this happen. And a lot of people in this room did that, so thank you for that. I guess I was just alerted my email account here got hacked, I guess. I got some notices sent to the fellow commissioners, and that was not me, so.
It's not from your email.
It wasn't from me?
It says it's from, yeah.
Okay. Well, I know, like, one time my Facebook account got hacked. I know it was Russians because a lot of my friends got comrade requests. So I thought that's interesting way of put it. But anyway, it was okay. They knew it was false at that point. So, okay, good. We'll go on to the announcements. We've got June 5th meeting, as we discussed, with coming up with the community involvement on those funds on the budget, as well as the city commission meeting on June 12th. Anybody else have nothing else to come before the city commission meeting this afternoon? I guess we are adjourned.
So it pops up and it says Mayor Mike Skidmore.